Boys, it's Shins. Today I'm making a video to talk about the MVP MMA card compared to the White House UFC card. I've seen a lot of takes online that are talking about these cards in completely different ways. People are glazing the Ronda card and then they're trashing the Ilya card. I personally think that these are some of the craziest, the wildest takes I've ever seen in my life. I think that there is absolutely no way you can call the Netflix card better than the White House card. I think it's ridiculous, and I'm going to explain why. Step by step, fight by fight, I am going to be taking every single fight on the White House card, and I'm going to compare it to the top 6 Netflix fights. You know, I guess it's opinionated. The only half-decent fight I'd be leaving out from Netflix is the Jason Jackson versus Lorenz Larkin fight, but I personally think that these are the best 6 fights on the card, at least with name value and action involved. And I'm going to be comparing each of them, and I'm going to be explaining why the White House card is absolutely superior to the Netflix card, starting with Ilya versus Gaethje, the main event of the White House card. Ilya is arguably the number one pound for pound fighter in the sport. He could be the future GOAT of the sport, depending on his future with Islam and if that fight happens and if he wins it. And Gaethje is arguably the most exciting fighter of all time. Guaranteed fight of the night every single time, or performance of the night, whatever it is. He's never been in a bad fight. He's never been in a bad fight. He probably never will be. I understand why people are saying that this is just not a fight that they're looking forward to. It's because it's kind of a layup. You know, Ilya should run through Gaethje. But one thing is, it's never that easy. People don't really run through Gaethje. Even Charles, who had the shortest fight with Gaethje, at least off the top of my head that I can remember, he got dropped a couple times in that fight, and it ended up being one of the best one-round fights, arguably the best one-round fight of all time. Ilya and Gaethje is no different. I can see Ilya and Gaethje being an insanely hectic round where Gaethje even has a moment or two, because Gaethje's not the type to just get ran through, and every time somebody thinks it's going to happen, it doesn't happen. You know, this fight's going to be great. It's going to be great, and you have to look at it from an action standpoint, and then, you know, if it's just overall better with the fighters involved. Ilya Gaethje, insane fight, very highly ranked fighters, one of the best fighters in the world, compared to Ronda versus Carano. You're looking at a near 40-year-old Ronda and a 44-year-old Gina. This is a layup. This is a layup. This is more of a layup than Ilya and Gaethje is. This is clearly set up for Ronda to get an easy win and for Gina to make loads of money. Ronda, at some point in her career, was one of the greatest women's fighters of all time. Gina was never even close. She was only a pioneer and has a big name because of her acting career. This fight will not be very good. And the best you can get from this is a round 1 demolition by Ronda, which is what I think is going to happen. But besides that, there is definitely potential for this fight to come out boring. If Ronda can't just get her down and sub her easily, which it probably will happen, but if she can't, I mean, you're looking at a potentially boring, you know, striking match, maybe against the fence, with a lot of stuffed takedowns and just low-level sloppy striking, and just it can be slow. They're too old. They're just not built for a war or anything. If this doesn't end early, it's going to be boring. That's what I think. Maybe they'll put on an insane fight. But I think the general consensus is that this is probably going to be an easy win for Ronda. But regardless, you have to look at the facts. There's only one that's way more exciting that people would rather watch, and it's obviously Ilya and Gaethje. You could shit talk the fight all you want. You know you'd rather watch it than Ronda and Gina. And if you wouldn't, then maybe I'm just fucked up for thinking this. But I think this is a very objective opinion. Ilya and Gaethje is 10 times, 100 times more watchable than Ronda versus Gina, which I think is just not even a good fight. Moving on to the co-mains of both cards, Pereira versus Gane. Pereira versus Gane is the best fight on this White House card, in my opinion. Based on pure accolades, Pereira is fighting for a 3rd belt for the first time ever, and if he wins, in my opinion, you can argue him as the number 1 greatest MMA fighter of all time. Nobody's ever done 3 belts. It probably won't be attempted for at least another 5 to 10 years if you take Ilya out of the equation. And Gane is coming off of that Aspinall fight that a lot of people think that he was winning. I don't think that he was winning. I think he would have gotten finished in the second or third round. I think that he looked good in the fight, but I don't think he looked like a world beater. But regardless, we have to keep the same energy. If everybody is saying that this is an interim title fight and it doesn't count, then you have to acknowledge that Ciryl Gane was not going to win against Aspinall. It's just people are acting like this fight is nothing because of the interim title. This is absolutely a legitimate title, considering that Aspinall might just vacate, and Gane, a lot of people thought, was beating Aspinall. This fight's fucking tremendous for the UFC, and it's going to be a great action fight. Gane has a lot more volume these days than he used to, so he's a lot more exciting. And Pereira as well is obviously one of the most exciting fighters in the UFC right now. You have to watch his fights. He's must-watch TV. He's must-watch TV. This is a dead even matchup, and the winner could determine a GOAT of the sport. You are never in a position to watch a fight like this. Maybe once every few years is there a fight where it's like, okay, if this guy wins, he's a GOAT. He's the GOAT. And this is one of those fights. It's going to be great. Moving on to Ngannou versus Felipe Lins. This is a terrible fight. And if you are excited for this fight, I will consider you a casual. And I understand there is an allure to watching Ngannou fight. He's the hardest hitter of all time. He's a KO machine. He's a likable fighter to some people. I don't personally like him very much, but I can understand why people would like him. You know, he's had the struggle, and he's built up from there, and he's become a world champion, and it's great. He's fighting Felipe Lins. This is going to be over in 30 seconds. It's not even minorly competitive. If you want to watch a fucking demolition job, you can watch a million different fights with minus 5,000 fighters on any boxing card, on any MMA regional. This happens every single day. Just because Ngannou is fighting in it does not mean that it is a good fight. Again, if you'd rather watch this over Pereira and Gane, be my fucking guest. But you're not a real fan in that case, because really, nobody cared. This is a terrible fight. I can't even break it down. Obviously, Pereira and Gane, it's the better fight. So that is 2-0 so far for the White House card. O'Malley versus Zahabi is next. This is a funny fight. I understand the criticism of this fight, but at the same time, you have to acknowledge Zahabi's streak, and you have to acknowledge that he does deserve the shot. It's not like it's undeserved from Zahabi. He's on a hell of a win streak. And O'Malley just had his bounce back win against Song Yadong, which was a pretty good fight. A lot of people called it a robbery. I don't think it was a robbery at all. I think O'Malley won it clearly, 29-28. But yeah, I mean, this should be a good fight. Zahabi actually has had some pretty exciting fights as of late. Some pretty close fights as of late. He's shown very high-level striking, at least high-level game planning, I should say, regarding his striking, and he's got decent durability. He's hard to crack. He's got all right grappling. He's a very smart fighter. O'Malley, obviously, one of the best strikers we've ever seen in the 135 division. I think this is going to be a good fight. I think it's a good fight, but you have to compare it to the third fight on the Netflix card, which is Nate Diaz versus Mike Perry. In my opinion, this is by far the best fight on the Netflix card. This is the fight that I absolutely cannot wait to watch on this card. And it's the only fight on this card that makes me feel that way. This fight also is between Mike Perry, who does not do well in MMA at all, or at least other disciplines other than bare knuckle, and Nate Diaz, who is just a fucking 41-year-old's version of a old brawler, you know? We haven't seen Nate get into a dogfight other than with old Masvidal in boxing. He hasn't been in a dogfight like this, and Mike Perry could bring it, sure. But regardless, I mean, it's a good matchup. I look at it just as you have to look at their recent forms. You know, you could always, I was looking at Mike Perry as his MMA form for a while going into this. Like, he hasn't looked good in MMA. He never looked good in the UFC, you know, in the end of his run. But in bare knuckle, he's been killing it. Nate Diaz, of course, he's got the jiu-jitsu. He can brawl. Who knows if he could do it at this age? 5 rounds. This is a fucking banger, man. I can't wait for this fight. It's probably going to be the best fight. It's going to be the best fight on the Netflix card. It is the best fight on paper. And it is better than Amin Zahabi versus Sean O'Malley. You know, if O'Malley was fighting a guy like Piotr Jan or a guy, you know, that's obviously a better fight. But Nate Diaz and Mike Perry is a fight that genuinely has my interest. I cannot wait to watch it. And I would much rather watch it than Sean O'Malley and Amin Zahabi. Moving on to Mauricio Hufi versus Michael Chandler. I don't understand the hate that this fight is getting. People saying that Michael Chandler shouldn't be on the White House card is ridiculous. He absolutely deserves to be on this card. He's paid his dues in the UFC. He's been one of the most exciting lightweight fighters over the last few years. His only bad fight was over Oliveira, and that was not Chandler's fault. He had all the moments in that fight that made that exciting. And Hufi, of course, just knocked out Rafael Fiziev. That's an insane fucking win to come off of. And this is a fairly big step up style-wise. I understand that Hufi is probably a big favorite. I don't see that. I'm picking Hufi to win the fight, but I don't think it's like a clear cut, like, yes, he should win. Chandler, if he uses his brain, which he never does, but if he uses his brain, should be able to very easily out-grapple Hufi, in my opinion. It's a really interesting matchup. And on the feet, it should be very exciting because Chandler does have that, the leaping hook style to go forward and catch Hufi. It's a great fight. And I can't wait for it. This should be one of the most exciting fights on this White House card. And you have to compare it to Parnassi versus Kenneth Cross. Parnassi, one of the greatest KSW fighters of all time, the greatest KSW fighter currently active, in my opinion. Double champ, of course. He is a great fighter. Very well-rounded. He's got the grappling. He's got the striking. Kenneth Cross fought on the Contender Series a few years ago. He didn't look very impressive, even though he got the win. He never got the contract, and he's been lighting it up on the regionals ever since. This is a really, really fun, hardcore matchup. I don't think a lot of people would really look forward to this fight unless you know these fighters. This is a good fight, man. It's a really good fight between two well-rounded guys that should be signed to the UFC that are not. Outstanding. There's nothing much to say. I think Parnassi definitely has the edge in this fight, but this is not a predictions video. This is a what fight is better. And to me, if you ask me, I think it's close, but I think it is Hufi and Chandler. Only because you are taking two of the best fighters in the lightweight division in the world right now, and you're pitting them against each other. Parnassi and Cross might be the two best fighters outside of the UFC that are not signed to the lightweight division. Regardless, I think the action, the must-watch, all the value is over here on the Hufi and Chandler side, as opposed to a hardcore matchup on the right side with the Netflix card. That is 3-1 White House so far. Moving on to Bo Nickel and Kyle Daukaus. Now, I understand all of the controversy with this fight. I totally understand. I don't think Bo Nickel deserves to be on this card, or Kyle Daukaus either. But you have to look at the fight, okay? Kyle Daukaus is on a very, very nice run in the UFC right now, coming off of his dominant first-round finish over Gerald Meerschaert. Bo Nickel coming off of one of the most underrated KOs of 2025. He flatlined Rodolfo Vieira in round 3 with a head kick. Nobody talks about it. I haven't seen a clip of that since it happened. This fight is actually not the worst. Maybe you think I'm ridiculous for saying that. It could probably be a good fight. It's probably going to be a good fight. Kyle Daukaus can push Bo Nickel, and that's what I want to see. I want to see Bo Nickel pushed. The last time we saw Bo Nickel fight a grappler like Kyle Daukaus is a very RDR kind of grappler. And I think it's going to be interesting if Bo Nickel can deal with that. It's going to be a fun fight. I don't think it's going to be terrible. You have to compare it to JDS versus robelis despaigne. Everybody who says that this Netflix card is better than the White House card is bullshitting me right now. It's a terrible fight. robelis despaigne is one of the worst fighters in UFC history. He lost to Austin Lane and got cut. That's fucking terrible, dude. How do you lose to Austin Lane? Regardless, he's fighting a 42-year-old JDS who should be long retired and is absolutely going to get chinned out in the first round or grapple despaigne to a boring, terrible 15-minute decision. This fight will be terrible. If you think watching a first-round finish over a 42-year-old man is exciting, I'm sorry. I would consider that terrible if that's what happens. If JDS takes him down and lays on him for 15 minutes, that's terrible. There is little redeeming factor to this fight. They're just bringing despaigne in to have a moment on the card. It's a terrible fight. It's a clearly worse fight than the Bo Nickel fight, in my opinion. If you think you'd rather watch JDS and robelis despaigne than Bo Nickel versus Kyle Daukaus, I understand that the Bo Nickel fight, it's not that great. I understand. Like, I totally get it. I'm not trying to sell it to you as if it's some fucking heater. But it is definitely... Why would you rather just watch JDS get put out cold? At least watch like a semi-interesting middleweight matchup. that determines like the number 15, number 14 guy. Very, very shit fight on that Netflix card. That is a really bad one. Moving on to Lopez and Garcia. Diego Lopez and Steve Garcia. This fight is just, man, this could be fight of the night. Wow, what a fight. Lopez, of course, the well-rounded brawler, one of the most must-watch fighters in the UFC right now, along with Steve Garcia, who I think shares the same moniker. I think he is absolutely one of the most must-watch fighters in the UFC, and he's getting the big push. He's getting the big push to see if he is who he says he is, if he is at the top of the division, and he'd be one win away from a title shot. This is going to be all action on the feet. You have Lopez, one of the more chaotic power punchers in the division's history, versus Steve Garcia, who is basically 145 prime Tony. You know, he's taller than everybody, he's lankier than everybody, he's got the power, the looping punches, he's got the pressure, the hunchback stance, and he walks at you like that, and he's got the volume. He is literally prime Tony at 145, and I love this guy. I think he's one of the most underrated fighters on the roster. I can't wait to break this fight down a lot more once the card comes closer. But this is a great fucking fight. And I see a lot of people saying that it doesn't make a lot of sense. But it sure as hell will be fucking awesome. And I do think it makes sense. I think Lopez needs to, fight somebody lower in the rankings now. He's had a couple unwarranted title shots, you could say. And he's gotten beaten pretty badly in both. He needs to defend his spot. And Steve Garcia is a great person to defend it against. I think this fight makes sense, and I think it's a great fight as well. You compare it to the first fight, Muhammad Mokaev versus Adriano Moraes. I don't think that this fight is as good as people are saying. I like the fight because I'm a Mokaev fan, and I like Moraes as well, but I think Moraes is, in the eyes of the fans, the guy that knocked out DJ, right? But he hasn't looked nearly as good since DJ knocked him out back. He really hasn't. He looked very flat in the trilogy with DJ, and he's also been very inactive. I don't think Moraes is the guy that knocked out DJ anymore. He's 37 years old, which at flyweight is ancient. I think Mokaev is going to run through him. I think this is a layup. It's a couple names on a card to get Mokaev a big win. I don't think this is a good fight. At least I don't think it'll be a good action fight. I think it's another layup, kind of like the JDS and robelis despaigne fight with a little bit more competition. But if you're picking against Mokaev, I mean, I'm sorry. I don't think you know much about Moraes, and you're just letting his win over DJ get to you. Regardless, that's the level of layup I see this fight as. I think this fight is blown away by Steve Garcia and Lopez. Maybe, if you think otherwise in any of these, by the way, it's totally fine, but let me know in the comments why. Please, because I want to know if I'm wrong about this. That leaves it to 5-1 for the White House card. You have to look at these. Ilia Gaethje, infinitely more exciting, a lot more, investment in these. It's a world championship fight over Ronda versus Carano, not controversial in the least. Pereira Gon over Ngannou Lins, not controversial in the least. Diaz Perry, it's one of the best fights on the card. It is the best fight on the card. Hoopy Chandler, better fight. Nicol Dawkins, better fight. Lopez Garcia, better fight. And maybe you're thinking, oh, well, these are unfair. Maybe you should compare the Diaz and Perry fight to a fight like Pereira Gon or something like that. Why are you doing it in this order? I'm doing it in card order first off, and right here, Ilia Gaethje is better than every single fight on this card. Pereira Gon is better than every single fight on this card. O'Malley versus Sahabi, it's worse than Diaz Perry, but it's better than every single fight on this card. It's not like it would change anything. It's simply just by card order. But regardless, none of it would be the same. It would be the same. The White House card is better than the Netflix card, and it's not very close. The Ronda fight is a squash fight. The Ngannou fight's a squash fight. The Parnassi fight's good, but it's just not as good as Hoofy Chandler or really any other fight other than Bo Nickel versus Kyle Dawkins. JDS versus Despaigne, squash fight. Mokaev Moraes, squash fight. The only good fight is Diaz versus Perry. Really? At best, you can argue it's 4-2 White House with Parnassi versus Cross being over Bo Nickel versus Dawkins. But even then, it's a overwhelming landslide victory for the White House card, which is just better than the Netflix card. Please let me know if you think otherwise, and let me know why. I'm not just trying to shit on the opinion. I just really do think it's wrong. I really think it's an objective truth that this White House card is just by a landslide better than the Netflix card. If you think otherwise, please let me know in the comments and actually tell me why. Like, don't just like shit on the opinion. Like, really tell me why, because I'm telling you why. But yeah, if you liked this video, if you agree, please leave a like. I drop picks every Sunday for cards upcoming, and I drop instant reactions every Saturday within an hour of the end of every card. This has been Shind. Thank you guys for watching. Goodbye.